The group of seniors was interesting in that we started with 11 in 2015. I believe it whittled down to 4, and then we picked up 2 or 3 transfers along the way. And then we had 2 fifth-year seniors stay and continue their studies and do their extra year of eligibility. So, as far as the 2 fifth-year seniors, Cameron Taylor, a heartbreaking story in that he probably was positioning himself to be first team All Big East after being second team last year. Probably was the best defender in the league, a guy who's going to play soccer after Xavier, and hurt his hamstring, I believe, in Game 10, and did his 3-week rehab, and then on his very first practice coming back, re-injured it and sat out and never played again. And I thought it was disappointing that, not knowing it was his final game at Xavier against Santa Clara, he hurt himself and didn't come back. But nonetheless, a guy who made himself into quite a player, grew tremendously as a leader and as a human being. And as my son always says, how come you joke around with CT so much and you don't joke around with all the guys like that? Well, I think CT has dynamite personality, has a lot of charisma, and is a guy we're certainly going to miss and try to not replace or replicate, but we do have to find somebody with that personality moving forward. Matt Nance is another guy, fifth-year senior, All Big East 2 years ago, tore his ACL, missed last year, what would have been his senior year, and a guy who I think is going to continue his soccer career in the next several months here, but a guy who was moving along, and we were very good and very dangerous early in the year, and then he hurt his hamstring and didn't really come back from that. He tried to come back 1 or 2 times and hurt himself, and then was able to come back for the final 3 or 4 games of the year, and it's no coincidence we were able to put a streak together and get into the postseason again. But a guy I think who's going to be a great coach down the road, a guy who's leaving with a master's degree, and a gentleman who I think is a great son and a great role model, and somebody who I grew very close to and have a lot of respect for. Simon Hessens came here from LIU Brooklyn. He was a Conference Player of the Year, and it goes without saying is one of the all-time Xavier greats. For a guy to do what he did statistically, I believe he went for 7-7 his junior year, and I think probably 9-6 his senior year. I think he had close to 85 points in his 4-year career. Probably could argue was the best player in the league, or at least in the top 2 or 3. Thought he probably deserved stronger consideration for midfielder of the year. But a guy who has a 3.7 in finance, a guy who not only plays every minute of every game, but trains every day and trains hard. And none of these guys are machines. They're human beings, and we always have to remind each other of that. But if there's as close to a machine in our program, it's Simon. And I think the competitiveness he brought, the professionalism, and how he grew as a human being, grew as a teammate, became more coachable, and really a guy who enjoyed his teammates and his time at Xavier, and we enjoyed coaching him. I think, some people who might have known him prior to coming in here would argue with that becoming a reality, but it was, and I'm grateful for him coming here, and certainly wish him well, because he's certainly going to be a professional for many years to come on the soccer field. Tomac Power was a guy, you always hear the stories, so-and-so called me one day and they knew this player, or this player showed up in my office and was a walk-on. And I would always say, why can't this happen to us? And then last year it finally happened where one of our players has a family friend in Germany who knew of an adult who had a son who wanted to come to the U.S. And fast forward to June, and Tomac's here, 24 years old, seasoned veteran, 1 year, master's degree student, and basically just stepped right in and came in my office the first day and said, Coach, I'm going to get you a championship. And it was a moment I won't forget, and a guy I won't forget, and a guy who really laid it all out there. And I think 2 things. At the end of the final game was devastated and very emotional that his time in America and his American adventure was over. But I think he was equally as disappointed that he didn't deliver a trophy or a banner to the program, because I think he desperately wanted to do so. And I think the amount of ownership and the adaptability he had to settle in the way he did and to be received the way he was. And obviously several games he was immense, particularly when we were down players. I want to thank him for that and wish him well. And again, all these guys I have emotions for and are going to miss. And sometimes seniors, it runs their course and they're tired of hearing from me, or they've outgrown the program and they're ready to move on, and vice versa. And I don't feel that way about any of these guys, and that's kind of what makes this ending a little tougher, than I want it to be. Colin Handley came here, transfer from Niagara, goalkeeper. brought in to compete for the starting job. And in one form or another, for the 3 years he was here, he became the starter. Had a cup of coffee in and out of the lineup his first year, and then Zach Nelson got hurt each of the last 2 years. And I think in his junior year, 2017, Colin stood on his head and caught lightning in a bottle and made some great saves and had some great moments and got us to the Big East final. And I think he'll be best remembered for, at least on the field, for the shootout performance against Butler in the semifinal last year. And then this year, Zach Nelson hurts himself in warm-ups, misses the rest of the year with a groin, and Colin jumps right in and gets a shutout against Villanova. So Colin, to me, is the consummate Xavier player. He is a pre-med / biology, I believe, major, juggling a lot of balls academically. Another guy who acclimated well and came here for the right reasons and embodied all that we're about. And he and his family were very supportive of the program and understanding. And I wish Colin well and thank him for his moments and think he did a very good job of us not missing a beat in several of the games when he jumped into goal. Rounding out the last couple, Joe Ash Sutherland is a gentleman who came here from New Zealand, from James Prosser, his coach, who also, coached Corey Brown. We had a bit of a connection going there for a while. And Joe Ash, to me, probably has grown up more than any guy I've coached, or at least anybody in this class. And not to say he wasn't mature or worldly or aware when he got here, but just more. Joe Ash probably has been home once in 4 years, has not seen his family. Joe Ash has had to kind of earn a lot of his own spending money. He's tried to, he's had to get through some things on the field as far as not playing, being injured in and out of the lineup, and really struggled at moments as far as kind of getting going and turning the corner. To the point where last winter we sat down with him and said, hey, it's going to be your senior year, and we have no idea how this is going to work. And then all of a sudden, 1 week in the middle of the spring, he just got this form and got this look in his eye and the swagger to him and really had a great run. And he's a guy that we counted on early in the year when we jumped out of the gates 3-0-3 and we're 15th in the country and knocking off top 10 teams. And ironically, he was the first guy to get injured out of the 9 guys that did. And I think he was hampered by that hamstring for most of the middle and end of the year. And when we didn't have him, we certainly lacked a presence on the flanks. And as he went down, we went down a little bit with him. So, but he's going to graduate in May. He's going to do great things. I think he's a guy with thick skin and a guy who knows himself really well. He's mentally resilient and a guy I'm really proud of, and another guy, again, who I call a friend, and I'm certainly proud of who he's become and confident in what he's going to go do. The last one, and certainly not least, is Robert DeWitt. We'll call him Robert DeWitt III. That's what he goes by. In our program, he's known as RD3. And for as much as I get a little sad talking about some of the other guys and a little bit emotional with how proud I am of them, I think Bobby, just brought a smile to my face, and that because I think I'm really proud of Bobby, but also it just kind of, the smile encapsulates his personality. A guy who came here as a high school All-American from Rockhurst Jesuit in Kansas City and probably played no more than 3 or 4 games in his 4 years. But as I say, that is probably going to be one of the more memorable and irreplaceable guys we've had here. And there's certainly a cookie cutter cutout of what Bobby DeWitt looks like now and what it'll look like down the road, and how vital a unselfish leader, personality, program guy, doing things in the community, on campus, socially, connecting people socially, mentoring freshmen, leading the scout team in practice. I could go on, but Bobby at some point embraced his role and realized his value and really embodied it tremendously. And I was very proud of what he brought to the table and what he stood for. And a guy, as we go to tournaments and look to, find the next striker, or the next goalkeeper, or the next left-footed player, we've agreed several times, and several different people have said to us, you need to find another Bobby DeWitt. And I can tell you without hesitation that he's going to be a great youth soccer coach. He's going to be a great community member. He's going to be a great coworker and employee. And I think our program is a lot better for him being here. And I want to thank he and his parents for their contribution and all that they've stood for in the embracing of the role and really developing his own role in his own right while he was here.